Who is Keanu Reeves' soulmate? Well, it certainly isn't Alex, judging on the last reading that I did. Today I used Pythastro Tarot again to ask the question, who is Keanu Reeves' soulmate? What does this woman look like on an emotional level? What is their personality like? Now, it is Keanu Reeves' birthday today, so the energy was really high with the connection. And you'll see I used traditional tarot to also do a sort of in the moment reading as well. So we found out what's going on at the minute, connected well, and it's really important around a birthday. You know, the energies are high and important things normally happen sort of month before, month after. So I think you're gonna love it. Hello and welcome to the Sky Spirit channel. I hope you're doing well today. Today I look at Keanu Reeves, and this is by request but also because it's his birthday. So happy birthday, Keanu, if you ever happen to be watching this. Now it's really, the energies are really high around somebody's birthday, so I find it easier to connect and you get a really good reading. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to do Pythastro. If you remember about Pythastro, it involves not choosing the cards intuitively or randomly shuffling and then putting them down. It actually involves using astrology and numerology to work out what the cards are beforehand, and then each card has its own personality and they act like facets of your personality. If you imagine yourself as a person made of tarot cards, each of those cards would represent a sort of part of you, how you were in relationships, for example, what your soul path is, who are you underneath that exterior. So we have those cards on the table, and what we're doing today is we're going to look at who those cards are compatible with, what kind of personality is going to match up well with Keanu, because it isn't Alex, judging on the reading that we last did. And if you wanted to see that reading, you can use that link up there. That was the last reading that we did on Keanu, but thanks to everybody who's requested this, and let's get into it. I'm going to move you over to the screen with the cards on. I couldn't remember what I was saying there. Screen with the cards on, because you'll see the cards are already down and I'm up there. Oh, and you can see my notes. Let's just shift them over there. So what we've got on the screen here is, on this side here, we have got Keanu's soul path. Now the soul path is eternal, talks about who you are and who you will be in every lifetime, and it's your core essence. Okay, sometimes it aligns with your current incarnation and sometimes it conflicts with it. When it conflicts with it, it can cause problems. This is Keanu's sun path. Now these are calculated by name and date of birth, and they're probably the most influential cards in your Pythastro matrix, so they have the most influence on your current incarnation, your current life. And then, because we're doing a love reading, at the top here I've got Keanu's Venus cards, because Venus is the planet that relates to love and relationships, how we see beauty, where we find beauty in others as well as ourselves. So I did, on the last video, I did do quite an in-depth look at Keanu's Pythastro, but what we'll do is we'll go through that before we move onto the compatibility section. So Keanu's soul path is the Seven of Pentacles. Now this is called the patient cultivator, and it represents somebody who is diligent, future focused. They are someone who can plant seeds knowing that something is growing. They don't rush things. They're able to see ahead. They're able to plan. They're great planners. They have great perspective on the future, and they know they take the little steps that matter. They're not sort of somebody who's impatient, who rushes things, who wants it all done immediately. They're able to pause and they're able to evaluate what's going on around them. Now, the dark side of the Seven of Pentacles, I'm just putting me back on here so I can talk to you face to face, they can become sort of stuck in over analysis. They can sort of pause too long in waiting for something, because they love to plant seeds and watch them grow, but they almost sometimes get caught up in that process. And like if you're an artist, I'm an artist, so I know exactly how this feels. When you're painting, you're so caught up in it, you don't know when it's ready, when it's finished, yeah? And you generally, when that happens, you generally like overdo it, and you'll do something and then go, oh, why did I do that? You know, I should have stopped when it was done. It's knowing when the cake is baked. So he might struggle with that. He might struggle to recognize when things are ready and decisions have to be made. And he can doubt himself, so he will sometimes not move forward, because not moving forward feels safer, and that comes from a position of loss, and it comes from needing security and feeling like there's danger in the world. And I don't mean sort of physical danger, I mean like, you know, emotional danger. You can be hurt. I feel like he can be hurt quite easily, and he's suffered that hurt, so sometimes it feels easier not to move forward with potential relationships or projects and things like that, because that sense of hurt, he feels it very deeply. Sometimes it's easier to isolate, to not move forward, to just get stuck in that process of thinking about what's going to happen in the future, rather than sort of, you know, making the harvest, cutting the wheat down, and, you know, like enjoying what's there, and when it's reached full sort of bloom, full a culmination of it, I guess. It's knowing when it's ready. So he might struggle with that, but it's the patient cultivator. So he, you know, he's not sitting there going, oh, you know, I never do this and this never happens. He really enjoys that process. And if he was told, look, you need to learn when things are ready, he would probably find it like quite an alien concept, because he is probably not aware that he does that, because he is inside of it for a start, but also because it feels like the right thing to do for him. It doesn't make him feel uncomfortable that he doesn't sort of recognize when things are ready. It makes him feel safe. Yeah, because when you don't take action, when you don't cut down the wheat, you haven't done it at the wrong time. You can just relax and just watch things keep growing. Yeah, these people make great gardeners, but they make great soul growers as well. Now remember as well that this is Keanu's soul path card, which means this is who he is inside. He's a patient gardener of the emotions. He cultivates emotions. He will help others around him grow. He will water them, metaphorically, and watch them bloom. He will bring new life. He will help people to fulfill their potential, even more than he will himself. Sometimes he's the quiet voice in the emotional room, but he's always going to be having a massive impact on how people grow and how people change. So even when he's not heard, that influence is incredible. And I want you to imagine if you know somebody who's really good at gardening, yeah, and they've got a beautiful lush garden, and then if they go on holiday, they don't ask somebody to water it, or if somebody forgets to water it, and it just like goes brown so quickly. And I feel like in relationships, in friend groups almost, although he's probably got small friend groups, but in groups of people, in projects, in relationships, I feel like he puts in so much cultivation, so much care, so much attention to the growth and managing it, that if he withdraws, it can be like that sort of, oh, it's fallen apart. He's the glue that keeps it together. He's the person that makes the garden lush and green, because he's so good at helping it grow. So we don't want him to go on holiday and leave the garden to go brown, yeah? We need him to stay in presence, yeah? He needs to know how to stay in presence, because I feel like sometimes he could be somebody, now I'm looking at future cards for this, he could be somebody who withdraws a little bit and finds it easier to isolate, but when he withdraws, it could feel to other people like all of a sudden the water supply is cut off, because he's such a nurturing, feeding influence, feeding on a soul level. So back to the cards. So So these cards here are his sun path. Now, what this does, we are moving into what influences him in his current incarnation. Now, first of all, the good news is his soul path is pentacles and his sun paths are pentacles, which means that he's not conflicted. Now, that means that on an elemental level, his soul is aligned with his sun, with his life purpose. What that means for an individual is they're more likely to manifest the positive aspects of the path, and they don't feel that sort of internal conflict between between elements, between wanting the good things, wanting the bad things, never knowing who they are. That can occur when there's like a conflict. But his are the same element, so it feels like he's very sure of himself, sure of his emotions, and sure of how he feels. You know, that might not necessarily be positive all the time, but he owns those emotions. Yeah, he's very, very aware of himself, and he has massive self insight into himself as well, so he knows himself very well. So his sun path, let's have a look at this. So let's move back to me on the screen so I can talk to you. Right, the first thing that we have here is the Five of Pentacles. Now, this is somebody who can feel like an outsider, who can feel like they are on the outside looking in. It can feel like they have experienced loss. They have experienced the loss of something really important to them. And if you look at that card, I forgot to tell you, this is the tarot of the cat people. It's not what I normally use, but with Pythastro, I've got like 3 decks on the go here. Cat people, normal, Rider-Waite, and then I'll use my universal golden tarot to do the traditional reading at the end of this. So I digress. Five of Pentacles, people, this is somebody who feels like, as I said, the outsider, who is affected by past loss, who, when you look at the illustration here, this lady is devastated, and because it's the cat people, she's devastated by the loss of her cat. You'll see her cat's lying dead, unfortunately, at her feet, and it feels like he struggles with loss. He struggles to get over it, and it could be as well because his soul path is so focused on growth for the future, being the patient cultivator, that having the outsider as a sun path, it's like it's very aligned. It's very as we don't have a conflict with that sun path, it's very he's sure of this. It's something that affects him deeply. He feels it on a soul level, even though it's in this incarnation, this sense of loss. And it can be that it's a repeated cycle as well. It's something that he's experienced many times in his life, and he feels almost like it defines him a little bit, like this cycle of loss and then of growth, of loss and then of growth. And sometimes I feel like he fears stepping forward because he fears falling down the next hole. It's almost like they get used to that feeling, that they get used to the disappointment a little bit. So when we tie that to the soul path, to that patient cultivator who grows things, it's like he puts a lot of energy into relationships. Yeah, we'll talk about relationships soon as we're doing compatibility here, because I could talk about other areas of his life that this affects as well. But let's talk about relationships and what's been lost in relationships. And then think about the soul path, somebody who grows, somebody who waters, metaphorically, somebody who puts a lot of effort into a relationship, and then they find that they've lost it, and that'll really affect you. Imagine the gardener. We'll use the analogy again of the gardener who leaves the beautiful garden and goes on holiday, comes back and it's all brown. Imagine that sort of devastation. Now, that's a bit of a flippant example, I know, but imagine how that feels for somebody in a relationship when they've put that effort in, they've nurtured the other person, brought out the best in them, and then that other person hurts them. They feel it, and they feel that sort of, I guess it's almost like, why did I do that again? Why did I give so much to this person? And they basically turned around and dirtied on me. Yeah. It feels like he's experienced that a few times, but it also feels like there's been many different types of loss in relationships. We all know that he lost his first is it girlfriend or wife? I'm not sure, but I'm aware of that, so I'm not going to pretend that I don't know that. But I feel that feels to him like a repeating pattern, this loss thing, and it's not just the loss of somebody in death, it's the loss of somebody, close friends, relationships, even people in his family that he's felt distant from and struggled with as well. I think that is going to affect him throughout. Now, I'm just going to mention something outside of relationships as well. I feel like he feels that he's lost himself at times as well, that he's lost his path a little bit, but he will always pull back to it because we've got an alignment between the soul path and the sun path. He is the kind of person that's not going to stray from the path for too long, because the magnetic pull of that soul path is going to bring him back into alignment with his sun paths, which are what is guiding him strongly in this incarnation. So now, what we've also got here with the sun path is the Three of Pentacles. Now, this is somebody who is a builder of, again, relationships. It's somebody who puts a lot into things, but they're also somebody who is a team player. Now, this almost doesn't fit with his other cards, because he feels like somebody who likes to, let's put me back on the screen, who likes to isolate when they're let down, yeah? But we've got this little, it's like a little twinkle here. The Three of Pentacles is about this team sort of ability to work in a team, and it's also about lessons learned by working with other people. So I think over the years, in this is the sun path, remember, so it's this incarnation, and I feel like he is gradually learning that there is sort of respite with actually coming out of his own head and being with other people, because he has developed more trust in them, I think, and he sort of helps people build. But this is also saying that he is building himself as well as he's working with other people. I feel that he connects with a small group of friends, but they're very, very important to him, and they're flowers in his garden, yeah? And it's not like he goes through friends quickly or just swaps them in and out, yeah? I feel like there is a little solid group, and he draws a lot of his own soul nourishment from them, and he helps them, you know, because he is the patient cultivator. So he builds, but they build him too. Now, the one sort of doubt with this card, now there is a negative side to every tarot card, so every facet of somebody's personality has a negative side, of course it does. But this isn't going to be as obvious because his sun paths are in alignment with his soul path. But these people can become a little bit dependent on other people to sort of make them happy. Yeah, they can feel like they can't generate their own happiness, and sometimes feel like, okay, well, you know, it's somebody else's happiness that I'm almost taking from them, and they can doubt themselves. So they can almost feel like, again, they don't want to. This ties in with his soul path, Seven of Pentacles as well. He can feel that some relationships, new relationships, are too much of a risk, too much of a gamble, because he keeps his circle tight, and he sort of, you know, he feels like he depends on that as a source of strength. So bringing in new people is fraught with that sort of danger in his head. You know, thinking that they could upset the apple cart. Now, think about the loss that he's experienced. That Five of Pentacles, really strong influence on him. So bringing other people into the mix is always going to be a very difficult decision for him. It's like better the devil you know situation. So I think he may struggle sometimes with actually holding on to relationships that he knows aren't working. And when he does that, it's not like he's going to be holding on and being outwardly resentful, you know, suffering with anger outbursts and things like that, because that's not who he is. He's going to be stuck in relationships, but actually almost like just putting up with it, just like, you know, maintaining the calm, maintaining the peace, or trying to. Now, as we saw with the last reading that I did for him, Alex Grant is a fire person. She has a lot of really strong fire in her Pythastro, and that's going to cause a lot of friction with him. But he's not going to be fighting back. He's going to be withdrawing more and more. He'll be relying on this small friend group, but it's almost like he fears the loss because it's the familiar. That's the word I'm looking for. So I think he may struggle to come out of this relationship. However, we don't know what's around the corner. So we know that he's a really strong person. He's been through a lot of loss in the past. So I'm interested to see what the actual traditional tarot reading says at the end, because that'll give us some more insight. And if you can hear my dogs barking, I apologize. They always seem to start barking when I seem to do tarot. So maybe they know what I'm doing up here. So we have done the sun paths there. So next we're going to move on to the Venus paths. The Venus paths are really interesting. We've got the Three of Cups, we've got the Five of Cups, we've got a card of grief, we've got a card that's Pythastro name is the Joyful Celebrant. So feels like we are sort of swinging from one thing to another here. Let's have a look at how those two energies work together. So Three of Cups. This is the happiness in Keanu's life. Now let's associate that with our Three of Pentacles. Threes are often about finding happiness or finding yourself in a group when they're a positive card, okay? And because we've got somebody who builds with friends and also the patient cultivator who pours energy and life into that garden of friends all growing so they bloom, okay? What we've got here is another indication, a strong indication that Keanu finds his joy despite loss, and he finds it with other people. He finds it in this small group of friends or in close relationships. And it feels like he has got a fun side to him. He's for all the sort of seriousness and depth, he's so deep. There are so many sort of hidden emotions going on in there, and I don't think you need a tarot reading to show you that. You can see it when you look at his face and when you feel his energy. You can feel how deep he is, and there's deep sorrow there. But this card is like there's also a dancing Keanu inside him. Excuse me. And I think it sometimes spills out. I think he can be somebody who's very witty, somebody who suddenly says something incredibly funny and cracks everybody up. And it's funniest because they are sometimes quite quiet and introspective, but they've got such a keen sense of wit and a really almost like could be a dry sense of humor, something that just makes people sort of, spit your tea out, like really laugh, and they just come up with these things. So I feel like he's got these hidden depths of fun, and I feel like he can find joy in situations with people, and he knows how to enjoy himself. I think he's learned that he's not the kind of person that wants to go out and party. And I think he might have felt conflicted with that at first, because obviously in the role that he's had in his career, there's a lot of that goes on, yeah. And I think he might have struggled in his younger years to come to terms with the fact that that wasn't for him. This card could also be about like sort of overindulgence in those kind of things, and I think we can see, because it's teamed with the Five of Cups there, that he's struggled with that in the past. And I'm not saying that he's had addiction issues. What I'm saying is I think he struggled with the constant expectation to be out there and visible and partying and socializing with a great big group of people. But I think in his later years now, he has accepted that he's not that person, and he doesn't have to be. There's no rule book that says to be successful, even on a personal level, not even on a Hollywood or acting level, on a personal level, to feel successful, to feel fulfilled. He doesn't need to do that. And I mean, I think as well, he's been so successful that he doesn't need to go out and be that face anymore anyway, does he? It's not going to affect how many fans he has and things like that. Those things are behind him, and I think he came to terms with that before it was actually he was so successful as an actor that he didn't need to be seen all the time to raise his profile. But he certainly got fun in him. Now, when we look at the other card, this is the Five of Cups. Now, the Five of Cups, again, is about loss. Let's show you the Five of Pentacles. Look at the poor lady with the dead cat. Yeah, so she's experienced loss. Now, look at the Five of Cups. This is, they're looking and thinking, what happened? I've lost so much emotionally. They don't know where to turn. And I feel like Keanu hasn't known where to turn in the past, and he's really struggled with grief. Five of Cups is often emotional loss. It's often the loss of a loved one. So I think what we're seeing here is that big loss in his past, but also the other losses that he's felt, the other relationships that haven't worked, the other interpersonal relationships where there's been friction. Because remember, he's the patient cultivator, and he puts a lot into people. So when they disappear out of his life, he grieves them. He grieves the loss of people from his life. So we have these both as a Venus path. So this is how he loves. He is somebody who can bring in joy and humor to a relationship, but there's always this sense of worry about losing it. Okay, so I feel that he might be quite cautious in his approach to relationships, but I also feel like when he's in a relationship, as we said before with that Three of Pentacles, Five of Pentacles, it feels like he will stay too long because he fears that loss. He fears the loss, and he doubts whether it's right or not to leave it. And we've got somebody as well who swings in a relationship between joy and darkness. It feels like they struggle with moods and struggle to deal with the black dog of depression. I think, even if that's, I don't know if that's been reported, but I feel that cloud over him, and that's like that Five of Cups energy, but team that with the Three of Cups, and you've got that swing between moods. You've got the swing going on, and I think that affects his relationships. I think that he is either sort of thinking this is great, or he's thinking I want out of this. Yeah, but he's going to struggle to do that because of his paths that are influencing him here. Right, I've talked a long time about him, and I meant to just go over it quickly, so I do apologize. I do tend to ramble on. So what we're interested in, why we're here, is who is Keanu's soulmate, or at least what do they look like on a personality and emotional level? Because I ain't naming names here, okay? We're looking at what kind of person we've got here. So what does Keanu Reeves' potential soulmate look like when we look at Pythastro Tarot? We're going to look here. Now this is, first of all, how they are going to align on a soul level. Now the first, let's pick these up as a hand of cards and try not to drop them or mess everything else up. So let's have a look at these as a hand of cards. You're going to see them in the opposite order because my camera mirrors for some reason. I need to sort that out. So first of all, the patient cultivator. Now we're going to match two patient cultivators here because it's a really strong energy. Okay, so Keanu's soulmate is likely to be somebody who can grow with him, who can also see the benefit of long-term plans and sort of planting those seeds and waiting for them to grow. So this isn't somebody who wants to rush a relationship or who's fast moving. Yeah, it's somebody who takes their time with people. It's somebody who's going to get to know him and get to know who he is as a person before they leap into sort of the proverbial bed with him on, you know, on an emotional level. They're not like that. Yeah, they're all about the process. They're all about getting to know somebody. I think the two of them could struggle with knowing when the relationship's ready to move forward, but it feels like that he needs that space, he needs that time. Now we're also looking at the Four of Pentacles here, which is again about, it's about structure, it's about stability. Keanu's soulmate isn't going to be somebody who's flighty. They're not going to be somebody who's not reliable. They've got to be dependable. They've got to be practical as well. They've got to be able to, it's not going to be somebody who's like just gone bankrupt and, you know, is starting an entire new business, like a crazy idea that's got little chance of working, and they just think, yeah, let's throw caution to the wind and do it anyway. That would probably send him running. Yeah, this is going to be somebody who is aware of what they have got, not just, you know, not just materially, but emotionally, and they know to protect it from outside influences as well as loss. Yeah, so they protect what they have emotionally and materially. They're not going to just throw things away, and that includes people. They're not going to make people feel unwanted when they've suddenly sort of shown interest in them. It's not the kind of person here that's going to blow hot and cold. Now remember, this is on a soul level. This is somebody who's got that dependable spark in their soul, whose spirit makes you feel like comfortable in a room with them, you know, like you don't expect them to make sudden movements or to suddenly sort of change mood all of a sudden. It's somebody who is dependable, somebody who can be relied on to be always there. Yeah, who can, it's like a shoulder that he can lean on. Now I'm going to move to this card here, which is the Knight of Pentacles. Now this again is somebody who is not rushing in. It's about slow but steady progress. Now we team that with the Seven of Pentacles, and we've got that again, that feeling of planting seeds, moving slowly forward, not rushing things, not sticking those young plants into a greenhouse and force growing them, because when you do that, if you're a gardener, you'll know that they don't grow very well and they're weak plants. Yeah, so it's not somebody who's going to metaphorically do that. It's not somebody who's going to push. Yeah, it's somebody who trusts the process. Now the final card for this soul is quite beautiful. This person is Temperance, the angel. They're somebody who has one foot in the water of emotion and one foot on the earth. They're very grounded, but they're also very emotionally giving. Okay, they're not afraid to allow the flow of their emotions to go into somebody else. They don't, unlike him in the incarnate paths, they are somebody who trusts their judgment. Yeah, somebody who exercises moderation. Now this soul path of Temperance is often linked to people who have helped and healed over multiple lifetimes, like, and in this incarnation could possibly be found working in you know, therapy that facilitates change for people, or if not working in it, sort of being that person that other people will approach almost naturally, almost instinctively, when they need to be helped through periods of change, when they need support, and when they just need somebody to sort of put them back into balance when they've been off kilter. So that's the individual on a soul level who's going to be Keanu's soulmate. Yeah, it's a beautiful picture of somebody who's just like, and I see them as that Temperance angel, as somebody who stands firm and is beautiful in an angelic way. It's like about the eyes, isn't it? It's that energy behind the eyes that some people have, that gentle way of when you look at them, you feel that they are looking into your soul and you feel calmed by them. It's somebody who's very soothing, somebody who moves slowly, is dependable, and is willing to cultivate that garden with him. So it can't be a fast mover. Let's put these cards down. Let's go on to the sun paths. Now the sun paths of this potential soulmate talk about who this person is in their current incarnation. So how are they living right now? Who is this person? What are they able to bring to the table when it comes to matching with the incarnation that Keanu has at the moment? So let's have a look at these cards. This is beautiful. What we've got here, again, I'm going to pick up the full hand. First of all, we have the Death card. Now, I always say, do not run screaming. The Death card isn't about death. Yeah, it's about change and transformation. So again, Temperance angel that this soulmate is somebody who can facilitate change on a deep level. Yeah, they can change somebody's life around. They might be somebody who works in things like addiction counseling and things like that, you know, somebody who can really make a massive difference. Carers, nurses, people who work in hospices and things like that. It's about transition, it's about change. But even if they don't work in that environment, they have the patience to help somebody. Now, death is about a massive change, so they're going to be able to, they have broad shoulders, they can deal with what is right and what is wrong in a relationship, and they're able to help somebody grow and change and leave the past behind, because death often talks about links with things in the past that are holding somebody back. So it looks like the soulmate is somebody who can work with Keanu to leave those things in the past and move on from them. Now I'm going to tie this with this Sun card here, because I feel like I want you to understand that death isn't grim here, okay? It's somebody who is deeply changeful. Is changeful a word? I hope so. Because what we've got here as well in the same hand is the Sun. So this is a person who can change people, but they do it through love and laughter and happiness, and they can make people see the sun again. When somebody's been used to clouds and dampness and grimness and terrible weather like we get in the UK most of the time, this is somebody who can clear those clouds away. They blow the clouds away and allow somebody to feel the sun on their face again. It's like they're the bringer of joy after a long dark winter. It's like their personality is happy, even though they can see terrible things. That if you're working with people, or if you're somebody that helps people a lot, then it's quite possible that you deal with some quite dark emotions when you're helping people to transmute them or change their lives. But it's like this person is still able to have a sunny disposition. They're not allowing that to bring them down. They might struggle with it sometimes, but they're sunny, sort of the sunny side of them. Let's try not to use the cliche sunny side, but it just came out anyway, I'm afraid. The sunny side of them is always going to win through, yeah? They're the person who changes, brings changes, but it's because they show somebody how bright their future can be. Now, what we've got here, I'm going to do this in two halves, because it comes out in two halves, and you'll see why. This again is Keanu's soulmate, and this is the Empress, and this is somebody who is going to help him grow. It's somebody who grows. That again, they're somebody who can plant seeds and watch things grow. This card is associated with Mother Earth. She is the pregnant goddess. She gives birth to all creation. She nurtures it. Okay, now I see this as, on this sun path, this is somebody who is a nurturer. This is somebody who pours their heart into relationships. This is somebody that can meet him on an emotional level, because remember, his soul path is the patient cultivator, and this has got to be the card of the greatest gardener of all time. On a metaphorical level, she can help things to bloom, help people to bloom into the best version of themselves. Okay, she's actually a beautiful soft energy. She can be incredibly creative as well. Again, this is a soft person. Let's put Temperance and the Empress together. This isn't somebody who's abrasive. This isn't somebody who's sharp with their tongue or hurts people with their words. This is somebody who's considered, who's balanced. This is somebody who helps people grow. And again, we've got those changes brought by death. But imagine how beautiful and lovely this person's personality is with this Sun and this Empress. There's somebody of great depth, somebody that brings happiness, somebody that doesn't come from there's not a selfishness in them. They're not looking for their own happiness as much as they are looking to make other people happy. But in doing that, they bring happiness to themselves, because that's what they thrive on. Yeah, it's like seeing the sun on somebody else's face and realizing that, you know, you've helped that happen. Now, what we've also got here is the Ace of Cups. So on a sun path level, this person is going to bring a fresh perspective to Keanu. So we're talking about changes again, but the Ace of Cups is about a new relationship. Yeah, it's somebody that he has not previously been involved with, a soulmate who he has not connected with before, and who's going to bring a new way of doing things, a new way of being. And this single cup is often also associated with relationships that lead to marriage, that lead to something really, really special, because it's a strong representation of the element. It's a purest form of the element, the ace. And you'll see that the ace has this hand coming out of the cloud with that chalice on it, and that's like a challenge. Okay, are you going to accept the challenge of a new relationship and a new way forward, or are you just going to retreat back into the clouds? Now remember, we've got the sun here as well, so the sun's going to be blazing and removing these clouds. So it's like this person's going to be offering Keanu a new way of being, a new relationship. So even though they are gentle, they are the Empress. Now the Empress is powerful, she's gentle, she's creative, she's not harsh, but she's the Empress, so she's got a crown on her head. So she's not like the kind of person that's just going to sit back and wait without saying something. She's going to offer him the chalice, she's going to offer him the opportunity, and then she's going to, she's going to be firm about what she wants as well. Remember what we said about the patient cultivator? Sometimes they struggle to know when it's right to move. But I think with this Empress, I think she is going to be somebody who is quite able and willing to take charge of things. Okay, so that's really interesting. That sort of paints a more is it holistic? I forget the word again. Put a camera on me, my head goes blank. A more rounded picture of who she is. So she's somebody who's soft, but she's also got that edge to her when she's given somebody an opportunity. It's not like that opportunity is going to be left dangling forever. It's going to be, do you want this or do you not want this? Now, what we're going to do is move on to the Venus paths. Now, with this being a compatibility reading, what we've got here is the Venus paths are the most sort of important. I know everything's important here, but the Venus paths tie everything together because we're looking at the relationship. And if you remember, Keanu's Venus paths, loss but celebration. You've got those the wrong way around. So that he is able to bring joy to a small group of people. He likes that closeness with people, small group of friends, relationships. He could just be with his significant other in the house, and they could stay in. Like lockdown would have been a great time for them. They would have been happy in their own company. Yeah, so he can do that, but he also comes from a place of loss. And I feel like he could also stay in relationships that are emotionally over, yeah, because he doesn't want to go through that loss again, and that feeling of, even when you lose somebody who is not right for you, there's always that sense of sadness, isn't there? And I think because he suffered a lot of sadness in his life, it's like, oh no, not this again. Yeah, so let's have a look at Keanu's soulmate and what their Venus cards are. Again, I'm going to pick these up. We're going to turn you back over to that, and the dogs are going to start barking again by the sound of it. So now Temperance has come up again here, okay, in the Venus card. So this is really important. This is, I'm gonna put my neck on the line and say that Temperance and the Empress are really, really important when we're identifying Keanu's true soulmate, because the Temperance is here again, and she locks in so nicely with that Empress. It's like somebody who's gentle, somebody who's about moderation and balance, yeah? But this is also somebody who's going to help him leave the past behind, because what we've got this card associated with, okay, I'm going to put those down. We've got, first of all, balance and temperance are very, very, they're closely linked, okay? Because we've got somebody who's able to balance things. Now we're looking at somebody who's able to again help him deal with things from the past, who brings balance and clarity. And temperance, again, it's that moderation, it's that ability to be practical, but also not to be afraid of letting those emotions flow forward. I think what this card is all about here is talking about, yeah, this is such an emotional, beautiful connection, okay? But the woman that we're looking at here isn't gonna just pour all her emotions into somebody if she's not getting anything back. And remember, she's the Empress as well. So she, again, we see the fact that, you know, she's not going to stand for somebody who's just, you know, waiting around forever, waiting for those seeds to grow in the garden and never cutting those blooms and taking them into the house. Yeah, she's somebody who needs balance. She's somebody who needs reciprocal relationships. But she is the temperance angel. She is that person who brings that calm. Now, what we see here, again, this is so related to death. I love this. This is the 8 of Cups, okay? So the 8 of Cups is about, have a look at that. I'm holding this close, so I want you to look at the illustration. That's a person walking away from this emotional sort of baggage area here, walking towards the mountains. Now, what this signifies in the tarot is the mountains are a challenge, yeah? But this person isn't turning round, yeah? This person is striding forward. So I feel like Keanu's soulmate is leaving something behind, yeah? They're already going through a big change on a emotional level. I feel like this woman has either been in a relationship that's finished badly, or it's divorce, or it's an intense separation that she's been through, okay? And she's had to learn how to balance her emotions after that relationship. So we're seeing somebody who has been hurt in love and who struggled to move forwards, symbolized by the mountains, but now they're not looking back, yeah? Now they've put their crown back on, because we can imagine this Empress reversed, yeah, with the crown toppling on the ground. I think that's how this woman has felt, okay? But now we see her walking away and not looking back. So it's like, you know, that time where, you know, you've struggled, you've lost somebody that you were close to, a relationship's ended, and you spend like however long it is, sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's months, sometimes it can be years, experiencing the pain of that loss, reliving it, living in the past, you know, reminiscing, but not in a good way, sort of thinking the grass was greener back then and I'm never going to feel that again. And then one day you wake up and it's not so much, and then eventually you get to a place where you just don't think about it anymore. It doesn't have the emotional energy that it once had. That's where she is, okay? But I feel that it was more of a decision that she made logically. It's like she decided one day, right, I'm not going to look back. I'm just going to walk away and I'm not looking back on this. It's like the relationship was over before she left it, and I feel like that's going to be something that they relate to, because I feel like his relationship could be at that stage, but he could be sort of unwilling to break the final bonds. And I feel like the connection here is going to be because somebody is going to be able to teach him through experience and demonstrate just how empowering walking away can be, and how, you know, the mountains there are a challenge. It can be a challenge at first, but once you get to the top of the mountains, what happens? You see things all laid out below you. You get a massive perspective on all those events, okay? Think of it as a metaphor. Tarot's all full of metaphors. And it's like you stand at the top of the mountain, looking out at the landscape around you, like you can see all your life, all your mistakes, all the things you did right, yeah? So it's a worthy climb to the top to get that perspective. Now, finally, on her Venus paths, we've got the 2 of Cups. Now, this is a beautiful card when we're talking about relationships. This is somebody who values harmony. This is somebody who's looking for another long-term partner. This is about marriage, about committed relationships. So again, I think we get the full idea here. Let's go, I mean, Temperance herself, and the Knight of Pentacles and the 4 of Pentacles to pick him up as well. This is a steady person. This is a reliable, responsible person. This is not somebody who's out, you know, having casual relationships. This is somebody who might have waited a long time for the right person. who might have decided that they weren't going to be with somebody ever again, yeah? But then, once they've decided to walk away from the feeling of loss that they had, and I think, you know, they might have felt after that relationship, I'm never going to be with anybody again. I went through this terrible time. You know, it could have been a divorce that happened years ago, but left them with that feeling like I'm not ever going to put myself in that position again. But once they've done that, once they decided enough's enough, right? It's time for something new. We've got somebody who's looking to commit again. We've got somebody who's not interested in superficial relationships. We've got somebody who wants to connect on a soul level, who's looking for somebody that really resonates with them. And I feel like with her being a temperance angel, that's going to be something that she's looking for something deep soul level, and it's a place of beauty and it's a place of balance. Temperance is all about balance as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. Now, this isn't the end. I'm going to do, because it's Keanu's birthday, I thought what we'd do as well is a traditional tarot reading. I'm just going to do it on top of my Pythastro cards because I love the energy that creates. So I'm going to use a Celtic Cross spread. Now, I've already shuffled these cards before I made this recording, but I'm doing it again. I'm not going to do it on camera because I'm terrible at shuffling like this. Oh, I've managed it. And then normally, if I put it on the camera, they're normally all over the table and I have to pick them all up again. So I did shuffle before and I'm shuffling again. There we are. So let's cut the deck a few times. It's again. Right. We're going to do Celtic Cross spread. Let's put that camera on now. I'm going to look at, because, right, I forgot to say this, the energies around somebody's birthday are really strong. It makes it good to connect with them at that time, but it's also an important time for events in their life. Like, there's often life changes happen in the month leading up to your birthday and the month leading away from it. So let's have a look what is in store for Keanu Reeves. I'll try to remember to keep talking into the microphone here because I've got a real habit of talking to the cards over there and then people complain because they can't hear me properly. So let's have a look. Okay. I'm going to put these down. Whoa. And then I'm going to talk you through them. That's where we're going with that one. Right. Interesting. So, I think what we're looking at here, I'll put me back on the screen here. Now, you just couldn't make this up, right? We've got the Tower. So we're looking at a big event that's going to happen, something that knocks things down to the foundations, a big change. When you have a Tower event, nothing's the same afterwards, yeah? But it's not necessarily bad. It's not like an accident or something like that. It's usually like when something's built on shaky foundations and it has to go, it has to be raised to the ground. Think of it as when there's a forest fire and it burns the dead wood out, yeah? It might feel like a catastrophe, but it's actually needed, okay? Now, with that tying with our Three of Cups reversed here, what I see here, because we've got a 3 and it's about the celebration and it's about the happiness, I feel like this could be the relationship breakup. And I feel there could be somebody else involved. And I don't feel that's from his part because we've got a 3 here. If you look at the 3, we've got 3 figures dancing, and 3s are often about somebody coming into the relationship. Now, I feel like it might not be that she's been unfaithful, okay? It might just be that her focus has changed, that there's somebody else who's come along and advised her, or there's just something changed. There's just an imbalance now. It's not a balance of 2, it's an imbalance of 3, and I think it could be caused by the influence of somebody else or something else. Could be a career opportunity, just a feeling that things have got to change, okay? 3s and 5s are very often associated with changes. So, and she's fire. Think about the fact that she's fire. So she's quick moving. She's going to want things to progress. She's probably got sick of waiting. Yeah. Three of Cups can also, it can be about marriage and it can be about engagement and things like that. And with this being reversed, and with this being with the Tower, it's like, and she just got sick of not getting what she wants out of this relationship. I feel like she could have been pushing him for more than he was willing to give. And I think that pressure's built up, and I feel like that Tower's going to fall to the ground, yeah? There is Three of Cups reversed, I'm not going to lie, it causes unhappiness. But every relationship breakup causes unhappiness at some level, doesn't it? But the Tower is a good sign here because it's not sort of dragged out. It's like a sudden change. It's a sudden change in their situation. Now, I get the feeling like if it's not somebody else that she's involved with, it could even just be people advising her, like, or a friend group saying, you know, what are you doing here? Like, what's going on? You're not getting what you want out of this. And they could have been advising her to move on. But I feel like that could be very much that sort of, with it not being on, literally on the cards, that they're going to be long term, that they're not well, not long term, that they're not going to be more committed, married, that sort of thing. I think that's what she wanted, that's what she's pushing for, and now she's realised she's not going to get it. And I feel like there's going to be a Tower moment there. Now, that also ties in with the card here. Let's put my card screen back on, which is the Knight of Swords reversed. This card can often indicate arguments, okay? And I feel like with it being reversed, I'm going to pull a clarifier here. Oh, Knight of Cups upright, okay? So what we've got is we've got somebody who's emotionally sort of that person who's kind, genuine, caring. And then we've got somebody who's argumentative, okay? And with this being upside down as well, it can be manipulation. And it can be somebody who just won't leave things. When they get something between their teeth, they won't let it go. They're not capable of allowing people to have differences and allowing things to just be as they are. They've got to push the point. And then we have the Knight of Cups, who is an emotional dreamer, a romantic, but quite happy as they are. You know, they don't need to connect on a different level in order to be happy. Yeah, they're already happy with what they've got. Yeah, so let's move on. What I feel like has been going on behind the scenes here, okay, we've got the Seven of Cups. Now, this feels like, oh, forgot to change the screen. This can be a card of illusion. And I feel like Alex might be thinking that she's been deceived, but she hasn't been. I feel like she had a fantasy about how things could be. I'm going to pull a clarify here. We've got the King of Swords reversed, okay? So I feel like she had her king on her mind. She feels like it was like she had a fantasy about how everything was going to work out, all right? She had a fantasy that her king was Keanu Reeves. However, with this card being reversed, it's like she suddenly realizes, like, this isn't right. Yeah, this ties in so well with that Tower and Three of Cups reversed as well. It's like the sudden revelation, okay, it was a dream, you know, it was never reality. This isn't the right person for me. I need to think about moving on. Now that, I'm going to take you to this crowning card here. This Empress reversed. I feel like this is a realization. I'm going to pull a clarifier. Yeah, we've got two of wands here. I had to look there. I feel like the Two of Wands reversed. We'll go to this one first. When we look at it up that way, it's two people making plans together. And it looks like, if you look at the card, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, he's got an earth, a globe in his hand, okay? So it's about like thinking the world is my oyster, making all these plans for the future, turn this round, and it's the realization that those plans aren't going to materialize. It's the realization that it's not been what you wanted it to be. All these cards are tying together so well, okay? And then we have the Empress reversed, okay? This is somebody who thought they landed in fertile ground, and can be, rather than with, when we saw the Empress the right way up, in the previous Pythastro spread. So she was kind, generous, loving, nurturing. Okay, this is somebody who can be almost the opposite of that when they realize they're not going to get their own way. Okay, they can become cold and withdrawn and resentful as well, and sort of taking away from the earth rather than giving to the earth. So they're drawing energy rather than giving energy, and I feel like this has been the crowning issue. It's this sort of dissatisfaction that it didn't go to plan, yeah, and then this gradual withdrawing and this almost freezing between them, like that it's got icier and icier as this energy's withdrawn her energy. And I feel like because he will just let things go because he doesn't want to go through that separation, I feel like it might have been quite difficult between them, but more of a sort of, she's fire, so she's gonna have been really like wanting to sort of fight this out, but he's just like so centered in himself and more likely to withdraw, that I feel like she might have got really resentful about that. And when you keep trying to fight with somebody and they're not fighting back, you become cold and resentful, yeah, you start to withdraw, but you seethe. And I feel like that's what she might have been doing. Okay, and that's sort of the crowning of this, and that's potentially why it's all come to a head. The plans didn't happen, yeah, what she wanted didn't emerge, and that's all over this spread, that same energy. Let's go back to the cards. Right, so what we've got here is how Keanu sees himself, and we've got the Fool card and it's reversed, and this is a bit, this saddens me a little bit, because I feel like he feels like, oh no, not again, I've made a mistake, oh I didn't think this through. And this is a shame, because when we look at his patient cultivator, his soul path, this card can sometimes make people worry about taking risks, yeah, or knowing when it's time, when it's ready to step forward. And I feel like this has reinforced it. How he's seeing himself at the moment has reinforced that energy, reinforced the fact that I've made a mistake, I didn't think this through, I've been foolish. Okay, so I feel like he might be feeling really wounded by his own choices. So what he's going to do, I'm going to pull a clarifier. Okay, so we've got another one, 2 swords cards. Okay, so he's going to feel very conflicted for a long time, not long time, but you know, he's going to feel conflicted for a while. He's not somebody that's just going to brush off a separation and rush into something else. Okay, I feel like he needs to understand that 7 of Swords can sometimes be about needing to focus more on yourself and making a plan of self-care rather than giving energy to somebody else. Okay, and then I feel like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, so I feel like he might struggle to move on, but it's not like he's not going to move on, it's just he's considering very carefully again. I feel like it's almost like you know, the hermit crab, when they just retreat into the shell, and I feel like he might have to do a lot of self-care in order to feel ready to move forward, because this is going to cut him deeply, even though he knows that this relationship isn't right. Now remember, when we were looking at his soulmate, this is somebody who's going to help him get over that. Okay, but I think it's going to be tough for her, to be honest, because he's wounded and he doesn't know what he doesn't at the moment. He could be feeling like, right, I'm never going down that road again, you know, I don't think this is for me. Yeah, he needs a plan of self-care, he needs a plan of change, and I think that's what we saw the soulmate can bring. Moving on, now I've got cards all over the place here, and it was this one next. Okay, moving on, what we've got here is the environment. I'm just going to pull a clarifier straight away here. Okay, so we've got the Hanged Man and we've got the Queen of Cups reversed. Okay, so this Queen of Cups is the end of that relationship. Again, we're seeing the relationship's finished, but I feel like she's going to be a little bit, you know, that person that I don't want you, but nobody else can have you either. I don't think she's going to let go very easily, even though it's over. There can be jealousy there. There can be manipulation. I'm feeling that sense of manipulation about her, and I don't think she likes to lose. Yeah, she might have the idea that the end of the relationship will prompt him into wanting to commit more. But I feel like, although he's hurt, there'll be a sense of relief as well because of the ice that you can see here. And what we've got here for him is the Hanged Man. So this is reinforcing what I've seen with these two cards here, when we said that he's going to be, for a while, he's going to be licking his wounds and he won't know which way to go. Okay, he needs a plan of self-care. Now that Hanged Man is about that he's going to basically hang around. Yeah, he's got to, sorry, I'm just looking at the cards here that we've got moving forward, because we always read cards in context. Yeah, we don't read them in isolation. So again, he's going to be waiting around. He needs to withdraw. This card is linked to the myth of Odin, who hung from a tree, I can't remember for how long, to accumulate wisdom. And the sort of myth is about withdrawing from society in order to grow on an inner level. Yeah, so I feel like he's going to be doing that. He's going to sort of hide away for a while in order to restore his sense of equilibrium. Moving forward, I'm going to take these cards next. We have got the Three of Wands and we've got the Ace of Swords. Now, this is his hopes and fears, all right? So what he fears is a new start. He fears going into something new, okay? And I think that's because, remember, the patient cultivator, they put so much time and effort into somebody that when it's sort of over, they feel hurt to a soul level, and sort of, you know, it's like you've given so much to somebody and it's not enough, you know? He fears those beginnings. He's fearing starting again. So as I said, it's going to be hard work for this soulmate that comes into his life, but she is an instrument of change, and we see that in this spread as well. So I'll show you at the end what I mean, but she's the instrument of change, but he's going to be a tough cookie. But what we've also got here is that Three of Wands. Now remember, I said threes are about change, and we see this guy here is looking out over the sea. Now this is about making plans for future progress, and this is his hopes card. So I feel like in his inner self, he knows that there is a chance for progress. He's not completely shut down. He's not wounded to the point where he's like, never again, ever, and absolutely no, never. He's like, absolutely not at the moment, but knows that there is a chance in the future. And this is where the soulmate will come in, because she's going to show him where this progress can be made. And I feel like she may be from either, it's like a long way from him physically, or even overseas. Feels like there's a distance between them at the moment. This is not somebody who's in his circle right now. This is somebody who comes from a distance to him and helps him see where this progress can be made. Now, what I was really looking at in the cards here was the final outcome card, because what we've got here is the Death card again. Remember, the Death card is transformation and change. So what this is saying is the end result of this is going to be a big transformation for Keanu. Now remember, we're looking at what's going to happen in the next sort of months coming. So I feel like he's going to go through changes. Let's have a look at that. Ooh. Another clarifier. Eight of Cups. Now remember what I said about the Eight of Cups? We got it in Pythastro, but that's the... let's go back to there. Yeah. We've got that card, didn't we, in the Pythastro spread over there. So funny that it's come up twice here, and it shows somebody walking away. All right, now think about metaphorically, when you look at this with this, it's going to be a big change, somebody walking away from something for good, and they don't look back. And I feel this is for him. I feel he's able to walk away from this relationship. He feels the relief of it, and he doesn't look back. It's a big change for him coming up, and I feel like the instrument of change, which is the soulmate that we did the Pythastro for, she is the instrument of change. She is going to help him with this massive transformation. that enables him to walk away and not look back on the previous hurts, the previous losses. Remember his 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Cups. He's somebody that experienced loss on a cyclic basis, or cyclical, is it cyclical? I can't remember. But as a cycle of loss, okay? And he's almost used to that. So she's going to help him break away from that cycle, break that karmic cycle as well. I think we're done. If you've enjoyed that reading, it's been a long one. I do apologise if you've got bored with me prattling on. There was a lot to read though. If you've enjoyed that reading, please subscribe to the channel. I've got lots more readings coming up. I'm going to show you how to calculate your own Pythastro cards and look at your compatibilities with other people. So I'll be releasing lots of videos over the coming weeks that help you with that. Also more content on Keanu Reeves. We'll have a look at him again. If there's anybody that you'd like me to cover, then do let me know in the comments. And I will see you next time. Please subscribe to the channel. Share the video with other people you think might like it, because that always helps me. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. It only takes you a second. So do me a favor and please do it. I will see you next time. Stay weird.